Hello, my name is Andreas. I am 31 years old. I live in New York City. I just finished my first calendar year living in New York City. I'm originally from Chicago. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago and was living downtown for about five-ish years. Every year, I make a summary video of basically everything that happened in my life in the past year, and I talk about some big wins and some big learnings I've had. And I've been doing this since 2020, so it's going to be my fifth or sixth video that I've made. But I want to recap the last year, which has been an incredible growth year for me. I think it's been one of the harder years of my life. And a lot of that was built into adjusting to a new life in New York and becoming a New Yorker and really understanding and prioritizing what is the most important thing or things in my life. And there were many times this year where I felt very lonely and I felt lost and kind of yearning for purpose and for meaning and really questioning my life and kind of developing a little bit of that why me mentality when things got rough. And so but I've had some years like that in the past, and those years are usually precursors to very upwards years. And so that's a testament to why we keep going and why we keep fighting and we slip and fall, but we always keep climbing. And a few things that happened this year, I'd say, as my career really became much more fast paced and being in the office more and leaning into being a professional and how I show up physically in spaces and I interact with people in my industry. I work in tech marketing. I've been doing that for around 8 years, and so really developing my voice and my own personal story that I share with people when they ask about who I am and where I'm from and what I'm about. I feel like I've been much more vulnerable when I've been in New York and people ask me how it's going, and I used to say it's great, it's amazing. And now I say, it's had its ups and downs, and it's definitely much more competitive than Chicago in every facet of my life, whether it's working with people who are, just a bit more talented than I'm used to, or, kind of meeting new people every day and going after certain opportunities, whether it's jobs, relationships, educational progression is much more tantalizing than it was in years past. And so I always tell people, my experience in New York has been like I constantly have to sharpen my own blade and be the best version of me. The best version of me is like always coming out. It's always like kind of peeking through the surface because, you're just doing these things so many times, going through job interviews, introducing yourself to new people, shooting your shot with people that you are interested in and want to go out with and all that stuff. And so it's been a hard year, a lot of learning. I faced a lot of rejection this year, a lot, probably the most I've ever faced in my entire life. And it's mostly people just, giving you that first level and that first layer of validation of saying like, all right, I like this person, I like your ideas, your vibe, whatever. And then you get met with a hard no, kind of within a short window of time. And it's hard to cope with that, to feel that rejection. But there's a lot of ways to look at rejection and I think the old me or a younger me would kind of catastrophize those situations and spend weeks, even months, kind of dealing with those lingering thoughts of self-worth and stuff like that. But now that I'm older and going into my mid-30s now, it's starting to feel like, hey, you fail fast and you get up and you keep on going to the next thing. And so that's been a big learning for me too. I think one of the other major things that has been present in my life in the past year is understanding the value of self-love and self-care. Anything from, brushing your teeth when you need to brush your teeth to keeping your room cleaner and tidying up and, going to the gym and trying to eat well. Self-care isn't just spending money and eating huge luxury meals and all this stuff. It's doing what is right for you and what's right for your soul. And the way that I go upon tackling that is just thinking about like what are the things that are hurting me the most and causing me the most problems. And I list them out, whether it's health things or getting a new job or wanting to be in a relationship. I prioritize those things and then I say, what are the steps that I need to take to make sure I progress against those goals? And from there, it's just consistency of trying to do something every single day to make sure that, I'm moving in a direction of growth. And those things take a long time. The window of success is non-linear, and it's often, not timely. It takes a while for those things to develop. And so I think patience has been another huge learning for me, and understanding, that once you take action towards a problem and you keep consistently doing that, the only thing that remains is patience, is time before something changes. And I've had several periods this year where, I felt very stuck, like things weren't changing and my current state is permanent. And that caused, some thoughts and feelings of hopelessness of like, oh man, these things aren't going to change. No, it's just how it is. And it's usually not true because, if we know anything, it's that change is constant. And you're always opening new doors and exploring new paths to something that you want or you desire or a state of being or whatever. And so it was the abandoning this idea of permanence. It's non-existent, both good and bad. There's only action, and I've really aligned myself to taking constant action, and I think that's kind of helped me see things through when they get difficult, and knowing that I have options and I have the ability to make different decisions that impact my life. And so this year has been quite the journey. It was my first year in New York. I learned a ton about how fast-paced the city can be and adjusting, and I'm looking forward to being here in the near future and kind of illuminating more of my path little by little and understanding where I want to go and how I'm going to get there. And so, for whoever's watching this, I hope that you get a piece of motivation, inspiration, clarity, something that can give you hope for continuing on your own personal mission of what you want to accomplish. So, thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have a good rest of your year.